A short reading from At Home with Madame Chic, Becoming a Connoisseur of Daily Life by best-selling author Jennifer L. Scott. What is chic? What is chic? Chic is a feeling. It's a state of mind. It is a way to live and a way to be. We've all seen chic people, nicely dressed. They seem to have a strong understanding of what their true style is. But it's so much more than their clothing, isn't it? Chic people have an air of mystery about them. They seem content with something, but what that is, we can't put our finger on it. Their chicness appears effortless, as though the graceful way they get through the day comes naturally to them. When looking at these chic people, you might wonder if they have a cluttered living room or if they scramble to figure out what to have for dinner at 6 p.m. every evening. You wonder if they detest emptying the dishwasher as much as you do. Heck, look at that manicure. Do these chic people even do the dishes? Well, some of them probably not. But what about the rest of us? Being chic has nothing to do with money. Not all chic people are rich, and not all rich people are chic. You may have observed this with reality television. You might see a wealthy woman with the perfect haircut, dressed in the latest designer clothes. She has a big house, a sports car, and that magic wand, fame. But her negative attitude, insecurities, and bad manners combine to make her, as they say, a hot mess. This type of person does not possess that chic je ne sais quoi. She has a lot of inner work to do. Being chic is not about the size of your bank account. It has nothing to do with where you live. It has nothing to do with the job you have or the person you're married to. It has nothing to do with the car you drive or the labels on your clothes. Chic is a state of being, and it is something that anyone can cultivate. Yes, anyone. You can be chic. You can have a beautiful, productive, and passionate life. You can flow gracefully through your day and look good while doing it. You can find happiness in your life even if everything isn't exactly how you pictured it would be. If you are used to a chaotic, unorganized, and not so chic life, don't fret. That doesn't have to be your reality.
Sometimes the story we tell ourselves is not really true. Sometimes the story others tell about us is not really true. Here on today's Heart Lift with Janelle, we are going to learn how to rewrite our story. So pick up your favorite pen and journal, grab a cup of something delicious, and start your heart-lifting journey towards living a meaningful life.
Welcome to today's Heart Lift with Janelle. I am so grateful you have found your way here today because, Heartlifters, this is a very special episode. I was introduced to Madame Chic, Jennifer L. Scott, through one of my very best chic friends, Andrea. We were having coffee at a chic little place near my home, and she started talking about Madame Chic. And I was so intrigued, and I love her so much, and she is so chic and has taught me so much about life. She had poetry readings in her home, and she now is a mama. She was a Navy jet pilot. She's just the most remarkable woman, and I love her dearly. And now as a mama, she's trying to be a chic mama, and she just brings my heart so much joy, and I learned so much from her. And so I came home from that coffee and looked up Madame Chic and thought, I am going to reach out to Jennifer and just maybe she'll say yes. Because you see, long before I was a faith and mental health podcaster, my very first book, as I mentioned in this episode, was a parenting book. It was a family book. And way back, way at the beginning, when I got married to my sweet husband, Rob, in that year of 1984, when we started to establish our home, we had a vision and we had a mission. First and foremost, it was to make our home a haven, a respite. And I mentioned this, but I want to repeat it here because I think this is why I wanted this beautiful, beautiful woman, Jennifer, to be with us right here this year. I wasn't sure if I was going to publish this in the new year, but as we went through the podcast and we shared, I thought I need to do it now. We're here in this season of Christmas, and I, through another podcast host, Amy Anderson, was so impressed by Amy that I wanted to have an unhurried holiday. And I wanted to have this journey that we could take. And it's a 28-day journey, but it can begin anytime. So I want to make sure that you know about it, and you can just hop over to the website, JanelleReardon.com, and you'll see the pop-up, and you can just begin that 28 unhurried holiday journey today. And so Jennifer speaks to how we can make our homes a haven as well. And a lot of what I did back in the day, I had no clue what I was doing. But I'd had some exposure to training the mind and the heart and the soul and the ear to beauty through my first teaching job at a school that taught the principal approach. And it was very much based on training in beauty. And that's where I learned to write. It's where I learned to break open subjects. It's where I learned to dig deep in research because we wrote our own curriculum. We didn't have books. They do now, but back in the day, we did not. And so I researched every subject that I taught, history, literature, writing, into first grade. And I poured into them Shakespeare. I poured into them classical music. And then when I became pregnant with my firstborn, Candace, I just knew I have to create a home that's based on the classics. And so as I did that in my novice beginnings, I now see that Jennifer L. Scott has cultivated it and developed it into these beautiful books that she has, the Madame Chic series, Lessons from Madame Chic, At Home with Madame Chic, and Polish Your Poise with Madame Chic. And she is enriching my life now in this 7th decade in a way that I want to foster perhaps the next phase of my life when I become a grandparent. How can I be a Madame Chic grandparent? How can I be a chic grandmama? And even bring to the table more than when I was a mom. So this episode is really near and dear to my heart, and I am babbling on, but it's worthwhile babble. Because I want you to really try to set some time apart to hear Jennifer's heart, to hear this conversation as you're prepping for your Christmas. Because, Pinterest, Instagram, all the social media stuff that we just get fed all day long on what a perfect Christmas looks like. Back in the day for me, it was I wanted a Norman Rockwell Christmas. And if you don't know what that is, you just have to look it up. But we are bombarded every day with perfectionistic photos, perfectionistic, perfect stills. I'm guilty. I do it on Instagram as well. And I do it on Pinterest as well. And sometimes I want to go, if you knew the story behind this picture, yeah, it wasn't quite so perfect and it wasn't quite so pretty. So I want us all to take a deep breath as we go through our unhurried holiday. Jennifer, thank you. This entire heart-lifting community thanks you for being you, for being a woman brave enough to invite us all into living a more meaningful life. Thank you. So, Heartlifters, prepare your hearts, your minds, your souls, your bodies, your ears. Take a deep breath and listen to how you can make this Christmas your best Christmas. Oh, it may not have the perfect Instagram photo shot in it, but there will be a peace in the atmosphere of your home that perhaps you have never experienced before. So welcome, Jennifer. Welcome to today's Heartlift. I'm just so honored, so blessed, so happy to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, Janelle.
And as I've already said, you might be a little new to my audience. I'm not sure, because I primarily am a faith and mental health, emotional health podcast, but that's expanded during this global pandemic because we have all come home.
Yes.
And it's ongoing, still happening, still going on. And I actually started as a family and parenting author way back when. My first book was a parenting book and a family book. And I have a whole chapter on order and a whole chapter on organization. And I don't know, I'm going to date myself here, if you're familiar with Alexandra Stoddard.
Oh, I love her.
Oh,
yes. She's amazing.
She was
a lot
you
of her
for
books.
me. Back in the day. Well, you're you for me now too,
Yeah.
for sure. But back in the day, I just remember especially within my realm of Christian faith, there just wasn't a lot of talk about all of that. And so I was just that in Victoria Magazine.
Yes.
And first time I was ever published was an editorial in Victoria Magazine.
Oh, really? Well, I was featured in January of this year, and it was like my biggest honor.
Oh, I have to get it.
Yes,
January 2021.
Yeah, in the entrepreneurial issue, the business of bliss issue. It was the biggest deal for me.
Oh,
So,
I can't even imagine.
Them. Yes.
For sure. Yes. Love it. So you are known for is it Madame Chic or Madame Chic?
I say Madame, but you could say Madame.
I like Madame.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, Madame Chic.
So just if you wouldn't mind sharing with us, Jennifer, for all of us, a little part of your story of how this Madame Chic birthed in your life and maybe its journey and where that came from.
Sure. Well, I, as a junior in college, I went to study abroad in Paris, as many American college students like to do. And the trip for me was very transformational. And I lived in Paris with a French family, and the French host mother, I call Madame Chic. I always say, I am not Madame Chic. People always think I'm calling myself that. And I'm not.
I recently was reading all about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the French host mother. And I learned things from her and her family because their way of life is so different than ours in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when I came home, I explored, I just couldn't let the story go because it was so transformational for me. And I wanted to share it with people because I thought, I feel like they were a very old fashioned traditional family in Paris. And I thought, I feel like they don't even exist in Paris anymore. It's just
that would be
something
interesting to know. Yeah.
So I did a little play on it when I was a senior in college, and I explored it in various ways, but then I thought, I have so much here. I need to write a book about it. So I wrote Lessons from Madame Chic, and then the At Home with Madame Chic and Polish Your Poise with Madame Chic, and explored all the stories I had from Paris and what I learned from my time there. So
when you're a senior in college, when this is emerging, were you an English major? Were you I
was a theater major.
Theater. Well,
yes. And that's why I wrote the play. I think for my senior project, I had to do a one person show, which was absolutely terrifying. So, but I did Madame Chic for my senior project at USC. And it was just, I wish I had a recording of that because, little did I know that 10 years later I would write a book and it would be
a New York Times bestseller. Yeah, yes. Exactly.
I didn't know. So yes.
What a fabulous journey. So when you pitched it out, you're a senior in college when you're pitching it or post-college?
Oh, no. I didn't write the book until I was, how old was I when I wrote the book? 30. So it was
That's
10 years later.
It's so young.
Still pretty young. Yes. But it was many years later when I wrote the book.
Okay. So, and did you just did the agents and everyone just flocked?
No, it's quite the opposite. Actually, I couldn't get anybody to publish my book. Nobody wanted it. And they said it was not, it had been done before, which it hasn't, so they didn't quite understand the concept. So I self-published the book. And then, then it did really well on Amazon because I had my YouTube channel and I was promoting it. And then the New York Times reviewed it. It was the first self-published book reviewed by the New York Times.
What?
In April of 2012. And then the next day, I had all these emails from these agents who wanted to represent me.
Of course.
And then we sold it to Simon & Schuster. It was a wonderful success story. And I love
such a great story
because everybody faces rejection in their life.
A million.
Honestly,
Yes.
nobody has faced it more than me. I feel like I have had so much rejection, and it's wonderful to just keep going.
How did you keep going though? How did you keep going?
I have a kind of a Pollyanna attitude on life where I just said, every time somebody rejected me, I said, they just don't know what they're talking about. They don't have a clue. They didn't, because obviously the book has
obviously
success. And
whoever rejected you initially.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of them. Okay. There's not just one person. There's like 50 people. Okay. So it's just, they have no vision, So that's what I tell and I'm never rude. I accepted every rejection very gracefully. Thank you very much for your time. I'm going to keep on going. So
just because you knew, but as you kept on going, were you married at that time, or was
I was.
You were married, had children at that time?
I had yes, my first daughter was born at that time. Yes.
Okay.
So I was a new mom, dealing with hormones and sleepless nights and being rejected every day. But I was like, nothing is going to stop me.
You felt that way. That's what's like, was there a drum beating in your heart? Like, nothing will stop me. Nothing will stop me. Yeah.
There really was.
That's the passion then. Right.
It is. When you feel passionate about something, and I knew that the story I had to tell, that somebody would want to hear it. And that it would impact somebody's life. And I just didn't buy that nobody would want to read the book. I just didn't buy that, because I knew that if I was, a woman and I saw that book, I would gobble it up. I would want to read every page, because it's just right up my alley. So I knew that there would be women out there that would want to read the book. So I just kept going.
It sounds quite providential that you were led to go to Paris your junior year. It just seems like that's been part of your providential call to do what you've been just now inspiring and encouraging millions of people, around the world to have a better home. And I will put the link to your YouTube channel, Jennifer, because it's just so good. You're so natural and approachable, and that's not something that we see every day. And so it just delights me. I think I ate up your course, and, however long it took, I just kept going through it just because it was so, so, so good.
Oh,
and
thank you.
That's a course on Teachable, correct?
Yes. I have a few courses there.
Yes. So I'll put all those links up as well.
Thank you.
So what I most wanted you here for, Jennifer, is, and do I call you Jennifer, or should have asked you that? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yes, please.
And because in my life, I grew up in an alcoholic home, and it was difficult. And so when I became a mom and became a wife and a mom, and I just thought, I just want my home to be such a respite, to be a haven, to be that place, because mine was not that. That when we open the door to our home, you walk in and you just go, I'm home. And I certainly wanted my 3 kids, as I was having them. I had one, and then I had twins. It was like, I wanted them to always feel that home was the safest, most secure place to be. All the smells, the atmosphere of the home, to me, is more critical than anything.
I agree.
And I think that it has such a lasting, we call it secure attachment, and my Heartlifters in this community know that I pound the table over it. And when you have been given that gift of secure attachment, life is really different. Life is 1,000 million times better. It doesn't mean you're not knocked down and you don't have hard times, but you just have an inner sense that I'm home. You're home in your body, home. And so that's why I just, was just over the moon when you said yes to come on, because I was just hoping that you might share with us maybe your philosophy or your, I've already mentioned to them about what it means to be chic. I love that. It's a state of being, but why is this important to you? You have 5 kids?
4.
4 children. And how old's your baby?
3.
Okay. Alrighty. Because when you taped your Teachable course, he was a baby.
That's right. I think I had just had him.
Yes. And so 3. So what was it? What has drawn you to make home be such a haven for your family?
Well, I think no matter what your story is, we all look back at our childhood and we take the best parts of home that we remember and also what we would change ourselves, because everybody, when they become an adult, they go, I am going to do things differently. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you try to replace all the things that you wish you had, as a child. So I definitely do that too. And, but I agree that the atmosphere of the home is so important. Mm-hmm. And there's a education philosopher that I love called Charlotte Mason, who is in the homeschool community, who's a big deal. And
you're a homeschooler, by the way. Right? Yes. I was too, 14 years. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's exciting. Well, she says that your atmosphere sets your affections. And when I read that, I thought that's so good because, and this was recently that I read that, but it validated what I have felt and what's in my books, like At Home with Madame Chic and everything, that your atmosphere trains what your palate and what you love. Yeah. And my palate is already trained because I'm a full grown woman, but that's I have children and I want to help develop their palate as well. So, there's all these philosophies on maybe why, you should ask your children about, introduce them to beautiful art and maybe put their favorite piece on the wall rather than just sticking up a vinyl of a cartoon SpongeBob character or something.
I did that. I know. I was crazy.
Just because they're kids, you just put it on thinking and dumb everything down, just for them. And a lot of people do that. So that's really my philosophy is I like to create a beautiful atmosphere and to train their eye to beauty. And I think that is so critical. And you could do that with everything from the music. I'm big on the music in the home. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm playing classical music every day. And sometimes I think, is this backfiring? Because sometimes they go, not again, Mom.
Oh, yes.
But yes, again. And even if they're annoyed to death, when they're older and I'm long gone, or if I'm not living, living somewhere else or whatever, they're going to think every time they hear classical music, they're going to think of me and home.
Mom. Right.
Right. So.
That just makes me crack up because my oldest is 35 and my twins are 31, boy, girl. Wow. And at the time, I'm not sure that this is still the case. I should have done my research. The National Gallery of Art would sell prints for $1. And they may still do that. I don't know. That's but amazing. They were all over my house. Like I was training myself as I was training my children. And I had taught at a school that teaches the principle approach, which is a very unique approach as well. And so it's very much based on training the eye, the ear, and the mind to beautiful classical things. And so I love that. And I think that as they grow older, how old is your oldest?
She is 11.
Oh my goodness, 11 to 3. You're a busy mama.
I know. It's so funny.
And
right before this interview, I was like so frazzled,
I know. It's okay.
Just trying to get everybody quiet. Yes. I'm going to be, don't come in the door. Don't interrupt me.
I don't know how you're doing that. I just don't even know, but that is honorable. And I thank you so much again. I thought that you might have them in school or something, but like a one-day thing, but that's great. I love it. Just keep doing that, Jennifer. I can just call back to you. There's one of my favorite poems is called Call Back. And it's a beautiful devotion in something called Streams in the Desert.
Oh, how nice.
And I wrote it in my second book. I haven't got the rights to put it in there, which I was so grateful. But it just, I'm just a little further along and I'm calling back to Jennifer, keep playing classical music. Because like you said, I just remember implementing 30 minutes of silence. I don't even know why. I didn't understand. We had radios and cassettes. We didn't have any digital distractions. But I can see now, because we homeschooled, so we were too much bonding time, we would say. TMB, too much bonding.
Yes.
So we were going to take a break. I really did it for myself, and they all needed to go to their rooms, when they were old enough, and be quiet for 30 minutes. They could play Legos or do whatever, read. But I took the phone off the hook back in the day, and I can see the affect of that now.
Yes.
And so I just applaud you. Please.
Oh, thank you.
Please keep encouraging.
Nothing's going to, with the book, nothing's going to stop me. It's a choo-choo train. It's just not, I'm going to keep playing the music.
I know I can. Not, I think I can. I know I can.
When you're 18, you could put on different music. I mean, I let them listen to their music, obviously, but it's what I really like to encourage women to not lose themselves in the process of marriage and motherhood. And I feel like women are constantly, you might be putting preschool songs all day.
Yes.
When that's driving you nuts.
Baby Shark, Baby Shark. Yeah.
And your 3-year-old can listen to Chopin. There's no law against that. If you want to listen to it, put it on. Don't hide yourself in order to put your kids on this pedestal where everything is for them.
Please speak into that a little bit more if you would. I think that's a critical message, especially with what's going on in the world. And, and I do know one of my favorite little books is called Invisible Woman. And it's a beautiful book. I think it's actually about it's in France and all the cathedrals. And so she just talks about how the cathedrals, and she relates the invisibility of a woman being like that. It's a fabulous read. I don't even know if it's still in print.
That sounds really good.
It's fabulous because there is so much invisibility that we feel as a mom and a wife. Yes. Yeah. So I don't know if you could speak into that even just maybe a little bit more. I
feel really passionate about that because, and I explore this on my YouTube channel a lot. Good. I have a series that talks about having a glow up, which means that it's like a physical, emotional transformation for the better. And I talk about that, and like losing your passion is a big topic. And
it is.
I mean, so many women have written in saying, I have completely lost myself. I used to do X, Y, Z.
Yes.
I used to play the piano. I used to train for marathons. I used to do paint. I used to write poetry, and I don't do any of it anymore. Nothing. And in fact, what we do is all day long, we serve other people, serve. We listen to Baby Shark. And then at night we collapse on the sofa, and then they binge watch TV, and then they go to sleep, and then they wake up the next day and they do it again. And and it never stops. And then at some point you might go, and that wasn't my story necessarily, because I cut out a lot of things. Like I don't watch TV. I rarely watch TV, but, and things like that. But I found myself like from 30 to 40 as basically a workaholic, just working and nonstop in my spare time. So I was obviously at home with my children, but every spare moment I got, I worked.
Me too.
And it was like up until 11 o'clock at night. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. I never rested. I mean, I didn't even read hardly if I read something, it was because it was for the blog. It was research. No pleasure. And so when I hit 40, I thought, I can't do this anymore. I was burnt out, and so I made a few decisions in my life that would give me more time. But I feel so those decisions,
if I'm curious, like if you could offer someone right now who's listening, who is, and honestly, Jennifer, I have many clients in their 60s, and they have no idea like what their passion is and their purpose, because generationally, when we look back, even at my generation, it's like, it was just wife and mama kind of thing. If you worked and especially within the Christian world frame, it was the framework, it just wasn't looked upon very favorably.
Right.
And so, so what would you say to them? What were a couple of things that maybe they could just put into place today?
Well, for me specifically, people might not relate, but you can if you look at the big picture. So for me, I decided, because I'm such a control freak, I feel like I need to do everything myself. But with my YouTube channel, I was doing all the editing myself. I was doing everything myself. So I hired out editors in January of this year. And I work with an editor right now. Just this year. For the 10 years, I have edited my own videos on YouTube. Can you believe that? I know. That's why I'm staying up till midnight. I hired out the editing, and I started hiring out everything. I can afford it, so it's not like I could afford it a few years ago, but I didn't do it for some reason.
That's because you're an efficiency expert, probably, and control.
And I'm in control, and I could save this money. But I'm not saving money. It's not beneficial if I'm working myself into a stress situation, I'm
kind of there myself right now. Yeah. Right there.
Yeah. So I got help. And it was
that hard? Was it difficult?
No, I was at the point
you were ready.
I was so ready. And in fact, at the beginning of the year, I prayed, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Something has to give. I either need to quit YouTube or I need help. And then that week I had an email from an editor service and I thought, oh, that's what I need to do. I need to hire out the editing. And so I did. I was so ready at that point and I just did it. It was perfect.
Fantastic. Gosh, I'm right there. That's crazy. You're saying that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. That's timely. Thank you so much. So I'm going to pray for things to come in my inbox.
Yes. The right people.
Mm-hmm. So in this, particularly in this conversation, I really, because I think this is going to be in the new year, but I don't know. It may be before the end of the year. I don't know. Either way, as we're coming to a threshold, either the close of a year or the beginning of the year, I know that one thing that I hear all the time is the inefficiency. And that's what just drew me to you. I've watched so many videos of yours, I'm like, oh yeah. Because I seem to be far more efficient when I was homeschooling and had all my children under my feet than I am with an empty house and just me and my husband.
That's interesting.
It's just like, dinner. I don't know. We'll hire that out, But I know we can direct, and I will direct listeners to all of your resources, but maybe just here today, a few simple efficiency tips that here, as they're looking at their homes, the end of the year, beginning of the year, and they're saying, I just can't, like you, I can't do this anymore. Like we're eating out. We never eat at the dinner table. I know that's a huge lack, I see it in my own practice with families. You don't eat meals together anymore. I think this is just what drew me to you. I just wondered, do you get criticized for your old schoolness? Do you?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I'm like, she asked.
There's a lot of people out there that do not like me. Trust me.
Your domesticity.
Don't worry about that.
Okay. Well, you're strong. You got that. I know I can spirit. Yeah. So something, how can we increase our efficiency? One of our main themes and focuses of the podcast has been a morning ritual. And so either we can do, I love your how to create a morning ritual, how to get up earlier in the morning, and how to be efficient.
Well, yes, both of those are important. And the morning ritual is very key to not have every morning be different.
Yes.
But, I think people think, oh, a ritual, a routine is boring. And I think personality plays a lot into it because I love the idea of, but I know people that are very, extroverted, outgoing, spontaneous, and fun. And that the idea of the same routine every day would scare them. But for me, it's like, I'm an introverted person who likes comfort and routine. So for me, it's easy, but I understand that for them, it's not. That would be like trying to make me have a different routine every day or
like
that
sleep
would
until 10.
It would give me anxiety. So I can understand on the flip side, people that even though I don't relate to it, I can understand that it might give them. But I think that no matter who you are, you can benefit from, to quote Charlotte Mason again, laying down the rails of that routine, because it's you wake up at the same time every day. So I wake up. It depends. Sometimes it depends on what I'm working on. Sometimes I'll wake up at 5 a.m. Sometimes it'll be 6. I'll go through periods of time where I need a little more sleep or whatever.
I think I'll sleep till 6. I'm going to sleep in.
I'm going to sleep in. I never sleep past 6 ever. But I, do that. And then I do the same thing every single morning. And it just sets me up for the day. And on the days when I don't do it, if something weird happens or I do sleep in for some crazy, strange reason, everything is thrown off.
Yeah. What are those rails for you? I mean, if you don't mind sharing, you don't have to share them if you don't want
to. No, I wake up at 5 or 6 and then I read the Bible. I'm reading through the Bible in a year. So today was like day 300 and
you're almost there.
I'm almost at the end.
Yes.
I just finished Ezekiel because you do one Old Testament, one New Testament, and then a Psalm or a proverb. And it's about 15 minutes of reading if you do it, every day. And so I do that first. And that's important. Sometimes I'll do it after I wake up a little more, but usually I do it first. I did it first today. And then I get on my computer and do whatever work I need to do.
Yes, before the kiddos start.
And so usually if I'm writing a book, I like to write in that quiet, uninterrupted time before I check email and that type of thing. So, but if I'm not currently working on a book, then I will work on YouTube blog stuff and all that sort of thing. And I have a coffee at around 7 a.m. And my kids start to kind of wake up at around that time. And I go back and forth between getting breakfast for the younger ones, because my older daughters, they get breakfast for themselves. Nice. And then going back and forth to work, and then school starts at 9. So that's what I do every day.
Wow.
And I wanted to say also for people that we have a tutor helping us this year for homeschool.
Oh,
so,
wisdom. So,
and this is something I need to update on my channel too, because again, it was part of that whole breakdown of last year. Like I can do everything, but I don't want to do everything anymore. So because I'm working full time, we do have, my husband and I, we do some work with our children, but we also have a tutor doing it. And then they also have some online classes. It's a wonderful mix so that we're not burnt out. So.
I think it's good for them too, though. You know,
they love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's good for them to see another teaching style or learn someone else's teaching personality back in my day, I started a whole program. Of course I did, Miss Type A, I started a whole day school one day a week, you know,
we go to one of those too. Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it was great. Just amazing, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that's a lot of wisdom if you can. And even if you can't financially afford a tutor, there are so many, especially during COVID. And of course you have to go through the whole protocol and be careful and all that stuff. But there were lots of high school students that were very willing to come on and do some tutoring, and that helps them learn and grow and gives them the community hours that they tend to need. So don't just push that aside thinking, well, I can't afford that. There's always a way.
There's always a way. There's a lot of people do charter schools and they get, funding for that. And then they could apply that to tutors as well. There's a lot of different ways that it can happen. So,
yes. So start the day off with a consistency, I think is really a beautiful word. Constancy and consistency. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Enneagram. Have you done that?
I have heard it, but I haven't done it.
Okay. Yeah. It just makes me, I was laughing in my head because like an Enneagram 7 would be the one that's got to have the adventure. So
I have a friend that is that. I think I'm a 4 based on what I've heard, but I'm not sure. I don't really know.
That sounds about right. I love that because it's very methodical and loves the order as well. So I love that. So clutter then, because as we're closing down here, I know that in mental and emotional health work and what I do, especially it's trauma informed. I've learned even so much more since my last book came out last January, and it's just jam packed with like 9 mental health tools. And it's like, I've had so many people just say, God, it's so overwhelming. Oh. Because when you have had any kind of trauma or mental health, and so even in our collective trauma, our collective grief from this global pandemic, and in the world of digital distraction, our minds are so cluttered.
Oh, yes. Mine too, unfortunately.
Yeah. My capacity to stay focused is ridiculous. It's awful. And I know it's because of the digital situation. So I wonder if as we're closing here, if you can impart your wisdom to us, wisdom on clutter and how maybe we can reduce it, or just any pearls of wisdom.
Well, to speak to that mental clutter that you talked about, I think it's important that, the reason why I start off reading, I don't feel like reading the Bible when I wake up every morning.
I was going to ask
what
you
I feel like is getting my phone and checking my email, and I don't feel like it. In fact, there are a few days where I'm like, I can't wait to read this. Most days I don't though. And I really have to.
Thank you for being honest. I appreciate that.
To do it.
It's a discipline.
And it is a discipline. And I'm trying to figure out if I should move that. Like if I should now maybe do it in the afternoon when I'm a bit more awake. I don't know.
I get you. I had to do that for sure.
Yeah.
And that ebbs and flows with your children's age.
Yes. And there's nothing that says thou shalt read it first thing in the morning. It's a choice that I made. And I decided to do that this year and stick with it. It's important to stick with it. I'm so proud of you. Whether or not, I might reassess that in January. But what I think is, it is so important for us to force ourselves to do things that maybe because if we just did what we wanted to do all the time,
oh boy,
which is we would just be on our phones all day.
We would.
Watching YouTube videos all day long, right?
Or TikTok or Instagram, right?
Yeah. So
whatever draws you and floats your boat, right?
Yes. I'm very particular about, I also read at night something else before I go to bed. Just put the phone down. And so sometimes I have to tell myself, put the phone down, put it down, put the computer away, just put it away. Cause I could work forever.
Yes.
And then read an actual book, go on a walk without your phone and all of that. Just, you have to really force yourself. And then once you're in it, you're like, this is great.
Once you taste it, that's what I always say. Like once you taste, like I know myself, I started on the journey of the contemplative practices, didn't even know they were called that, of silence and stillness when I was 28. I'm 62, and it was just, I could not be still. I just couldn't, so that's for everyone listening. Remember, this is a practice. This is a rhythm. This is a routine. This is something you implement and be gracious with yourself and have the compassion, but also hold yourself accountable, and I know I was thinking the whole time you were talking about the almost like some would think it's a rigidity to get up and do all of these things. My husband, that's him, man. He is up early. He's in bed at 9:30, but that's also like the whole blue zone studies and statistics about those, who have lived over 100, the longevity of life in those communities is routine, rhythm, simplicity, sameness.
Yes.
But it's a community as well.
Definitely. And that's so important.
Yeah. Jennifer, I could just talk to you forever.
I know. I love you. I think this is so great.
It's so fun. Thank you so, so much. Oh my goodness. So many, many blessings on the closure of this year as you read through the Bible. I'm so impressed. I've never been able to do it because I'm a teacher. So I just extract like you, and for me, the discipline is like, you cannot write anything down. You cannot, you have to highlight. You cannot.
I know.
And
I'm the same way.
I think that's kind of been a theme here. And I just want to close with that some of these things are counterintuitive for us. Yes. And I don't want to rush over that in the sense that they're counterintuitive. So that's what it means, though, to be enlarged, to have an enlargement in your life. It's to come outside of your comfort zone. You can't grow any other way.
Yes. To equate this to something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Perfect.
I'm as we're shooting this podcast tomorrow on my YouTube channel, I'm doing a video on how to help you wear presentable sleepwear every night. Okay? Totally. But one of the tips is just wear it. You're going to be uncomfortable if you're used to wearing ratty old sweatpants, a t-shirt, like nothing. Just you're going to be uncomfortable if you put on a pretty pajama set. You're going to feel very uncomfortable.
I just can't wait.
Push through, keep wearing it every night. So eventually the atmosphere sets the affection. You're going to change your affection. And now, like for me, for example, because there's a funny story in Madame Chic about what I brought to Paris to sleep in. And it's horrible, just awful. And I cringe every time I think about it now. But that used to be me as a, young adult, a teenager.
Sure, college kid.
Think about it. Like, whatever, I'm going to wear sweats with a hole in the knee and an old college t-shirt, whatever. But now I would feel so uncomfortable if I dressed like that because I switched my affections. So if you have a goal, it might not be you right now, but it will be you one day if you persist through those feelings of discomfort.
That's
because a lot of the times women think, oh, I don't deserve to wear beautiful pajamas. Maybe they live alone and no one's seeing them, or maybe they're embarrassed. They're, to want to put on airs of who do you think you are? Or they don't feel worthy of doing it. And so I just say, push through that. Just wear it. Yes, you deserve to wear it. I don't care who you are.
Well, that's the bottom line. You just nailed it. And that's what this whole community is about, knowing our value, our worth, and our dignity.
Yes.
And we do it for ourselves. Of course, we want to please spouses and whatever, but it's not to get their approval. It's because we love it. Like I set a beautiful table if I'm eating alone.
Me too.
Light a candle. Yeah. It's like, it's just creating. I just wrote, because home life is where we create life.
I love that. And it's really about the whole process. It's like, you might be a woman who dresses beautifully during the day. So why does that not continue to your sleepwear? There's a disconnect there. Or if you live beautifully everywhere in your life, but then at home, the dinner time is just throwing it on the table and not set. There's a disconnect. So it's like the whole, huge everything has to be in harmony together. So,
and to me, it should, I don't like to shouldology all the time. I try not to do that, but this is a good should. That should be our first and primary place where we want to do it. That's at least how I think.
Me too.
So much beauty to all of you. Thank you so much, Jennifer, once again. And I will share all of your information so everybody can grow this year and become have a more meaningful life, a eudaimonious life. And so Heartlifters, just don't ever forget that you are clothed in strength and dignity with nothing to fear, and you can and will smile at your future. Oh, Heartlifters, wasn't that so good? There was so much more that I wanted to talk to Jennifer about. So maybe by some beautiful blessing, she'll say yes and come back to us. So I'd really like to talk a little bit more about what she talks about in her book, At Home with Madame Chic. This je ne sais quoi. She's like, je ne sais quoi comes from inner peace. It actually means that certain something. It's a phrase we've all heard, and it describes people who just have it. But what is it? And how can we get it? Is je ne sais quoi being skinny? Is it having perfect highlights? Can you buy je ne sais quoi? What if I buy this season's hottest clothes? Does that give me je ne sais quoi? The answers to all of these things is no. And she writes, it is not something on the outside, it is something within. She quotes Marianne Williamson from her book, A Return to Love, and she says, Marianne describes charisma as a sparkle in people that money can't buy. It's an invisible energy with visible effects. An invisible energy with visible effects. It's that sparkle, that magnetism that fuels one's air of mystery. And it comes from inner peace. And man, this is what I'd love to have her come back and talk to us more about. It's about having inner peace while you're drying the pots and pans. It's having inner peace while you choose your outfit for the day or while you walk the dog. It's having inner peace when you are in the midst of a difficult conversation, or you're meeting a deadline in your office, or lugging the groceries up the stairs, or even sitting in traffic at 5 p.m. Chic people have that je ne sais quoi, that certain something that is inner peace. Having inner peace, she writes, should always be our goal. Then we can get through our day no matter what happens around us. Once we possess this inner peace, and I add here to the conversation, secure attachment. Once we know that we are heard, we're seen, we're loved, we belong, we have a voice. That voice is our value. We have worth. We have dignity. When we possess that, and Heartlifters, I'm getting passionate because that is at the end of our heartlifting journey, at the end of the work that we do, our inner work, our heartlifting transforming journey. At the end of that is all about just being at peace, having a sense of ease in our own skin. She writes, once we have it, small things, such as a careless comment from a coworker or a flat tire, will not completely ruin our day. Inner peace will keep us present and put things into perspective. People will wonder how you manage to navigate through life so gracefully. And this is where I say a heartlifter, I'm adding this, a heartlifter is someone who stands in the center of their spheres of influence with that threefold cord in practice: a healthy sense of self, healthy behavior patterns, and healthy communication skills. When you have that, when you possess it, like Jennifer says, when you have that inner peace, that keeps you present and it puts things into perspective. Wow. How on earth, she writes, do you cultivate inner peace when the pasta's boiling over, the baby's teething, the toddler's having a tantrum, and the dog just peed on the curtains? Or as a client said to me this morning, I got a beautiful front door Christmas wreath from my sister-in-law, and my baby dog, I can't remember if it's a girl or a boy, jumped up, I think it's a 10-month-old, jumped up, took it down, and decided it was his or her job to rip it completely and totally apart. It's real, isn't it? She writes, Jennifer says, really, you have no other choice but chic. I love it. She calls it chic. I call it being a heartlifter. You can wallow in anger and despair, but where does that really get you in the end? Or you can remain calm. You can breathe. You can deal with one thing at a time and not let anything, no matter how loud or pressing, fill you with anxiety. If this seems impossible, let's examine another phrase, she writes, that is common in the French with the French people. I cannot say this. I've practiced. I've listened to it, but I'm really butchering it. It is bien das, Bidasapau, I think. I don't know, but I'm going to spell it. BIENDANSSAPEAU. And I will put that in the show notes. And that translates as comfortable in her skin, being well in your skin. Well, that's it. That's it, isn't it? That's what I preach, and that's what I teach, and that's what I write. We all need to have secure attachment where we feel comfortable in our own skin. We're fully present. We're fully embodied. We know whose we are, and we know who we are. She writes, people who possess this being comfortable in your skin, I cannot say this French phrase, maybe Jennifer can teach me, do not have inner turmoil and constant neurosis ruling their lives. They are not always worrying if they've said or done the right thing. They aren't constantly trying to please people and be everything to everybody. They are comfortable being who they are. They enjoy themselves. They value themselves. This, too, is inner peace. I'm going to dedicate a whole entire episode to that one phrase. And I may just have to add it before these holidays because I feel like God brings to me so many brilliant, remarkable people for this podcast. And my job is to try and move them on a chessboard and decide when is the time to bring these conversations to our table. And I believe this is now the time because, as Jennifer said in this episode, as she quoted Charlotte Mason, atmosphere. Your atmosphere sets your attention. And if we can possess a sense of being unhurried and calmer this holiday season, I believe it will be the best holiday season you've ever had. So Heartlifters, connect with Jennifer L. Scott on her website, www.jenniferlscott.com. Absolutely every link you need to her YouTube channel, The Daily Connoisseur, to all of her books, to her Instagram, all of it is there for you. And it is a feast to which you need to be feeding your soul on as you try this year to have an unhurried holiday. I love you, dear Heartlifters. I care so much about you. And there is nothing I want more than for you to be present and comfortable in your skin so that you can be present to your children. And I'm getting emotional, no matter what age they are. All of mine are coming home this Christmas. So I am going to be putting this into practice. Be blessed. Be blessed. Be blessed.
Thanks for listening today. It was great having you here. For even more great content and resources, please join the Stronger Everyday online community at JanelleRaridan.com. Always remember, you, my friend, have value, worth, and dignity.